Greetings, everyone. Well, I was actually going to start a whole new review series, like talk about something else in detail today. But then, as I was reading through the comments for the previous four videos, the four Real Ghostbusters review videos, I realized there was a few questions that you guys had that I kept seeing over and over again. And I thought, rather than respond to all like 8 billion of them individually, why not just talk about it in a video and then just sort of kill all those birds with one stone? So we're going to kill lots of birds with one stone today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. So the first thing I wanted to do was, of course, just show off the box again because it's so badass. Now this one, of course, I didn't get a lot of requests for, but I realized I did kind of forget. I talked about the bonus disc a lot. It's awesome. But I didn't actually show you what it looks like. Yeah! And it has been destroyed. No, just kidding. So there's the bonus disc. It's really nothing spectacular, just the logo on a black background with bonus disc written on it. Yeah, so I'll scratch my nose behind the bonus disc so you can't see it. There we go. Excellent. So that's the bonus disc, which you've seen a million times and I haven't shut up about since part one. Yeah, and that was pretty much it. I think I showed you everything else. I was going to go into detail about the extras, but honestly, there's no point. Just suffice it to say there's a buttload of extras. One thing I found interesting, actually, was the commentaries. I mean, first off, the commentaries themselves are very interesting because they're, with a lot of the principal cast and crew and writers and producers and stuff. But they didn't actually do them just as straight-ahead audio commentaries as you normally find in releases like this. No, they actually did them as video commentaries. So you actually see the participants in the commentary, and it's kind of interesting because then you can, well, see what they look like now, but also, see their facial reactions and when they're sort of indicating things to each other and stuff like that. So it's kind of nice. And then in a little window in the in this corner, yeah, I think it's in this corner. Sorry, my monitor's reversed, so yeah, I think it's this corner. Should be on the right, the lower right. Is this the lower right? Okay, anyway. There's a little window that shows the episode, and then you can hear the sound faintly beneath the commentary. And then in the background behind them is kind of an out-of-focus version in motion, just as a sort of nondescript color background. And then over here, which should be on the left, the lower left, you have stills from the episode and sometimes some production art and stuff like that sort of runs concurrently. So you basically got episode, stills, participants, and then in the background, episode again, slightly out of focus. So it's a very slick little presentation, I gotta say, and they have at least a couple of those on every volume, and it's great. And then also a lot of the episodes have episode introductions by the original creators, so they'll say a little blurb about the episode, which is quite nice. And some of the episodes have actually have multiple introductions for one episode, so it'll take you quite a while to go through all the extras. And then the final disc of each set actually has a documentary. So there's basically a 5-part in-depth documentary that runs the length of the set, and each volume you get one part, about 20 or 30 minutes of that documentary. So it's very extensive. I mean, I can't imagine a more extensive set. Yeah, so it's great stuff, Lots of great extras, very meaty, worthwhile extras that I'm sure will give fans even more to talk about now than they've been talking about over the past 20 years. So it's great stuff. A couple other things I wanted to talk about, and these are in relation to comments that I received. The big one, of course, is I know a lot of you guys watch from across the pond over in Europe and the UK, and I know that there's a ton of fans out there. In fact, one of my regular viewers slash commenters, especially when I do the cartoon videos, is David something. David and then a bunch of numbers. I'm sorry, 51362 or something like that. If that's right, I'll be amazed. But this guy, I'll just put his username on the screen. Anyway, David is also quite a cartoon enthusiast, and always leaves comments on my videos, is essentially providing more information. I mean, he knows more about cartoons than I probably ever will, and my knowledge is primarily the Region 1 and NTSC releases from over the years, and you'll notice those are the ones that I focus on in my videos. David, of course, is from the UK, so in particular with the Real Ghostbusters, for example, he provided me with a bunch of information in the comments about the various UK releases over the years, like how many they got on VHS over there, and which ones were released on DVD and stuff like that. So, you know, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Big thanks to you, David. I really appreciate the extra info that you provide there. So there's a long overdue shout out for you. But anyway, yeah, one of the things that David pointed out was the number of episodes that were released on VHS over there versus the number that were released over here. Now, of course, you saw in part 2, I went into detail about that. We basically got 11 episodes here spread across 7 volumes. Well, in the UK, they actually got 20 episodes spread across 10 volumes, so almost double the number of episodes we've got here. So clearly, there's a buttload of fans out in your neck of the woods. So the big question everybody was asking was, how can we get this set? Well, I mean not to be condescending or anything, but hey, we're on the internet. If one place doesn't work out, there's a lot of other options. I know some of my other UK viewers basically watched the review and went straight to a little place called eBay. So there you go. I mean, there's a lot of eBay sellers offering it for, you know, close to, if not identical to, the price that Time Life has it for. So you can get it through eBay. I also know a lot of Amazon Marketplace sellers over on Amazon.com are also selling it. So, you know, there's options out there. I mean, I know that Time Life doesn't ship outside of North America, because I guess just because it's a Region 1 release. But yeah, so if you're looking to get the set now, eBay and Amazon, those are the best 2 recommendations I can give you. I mean, just, you know, just be careful. Just check the feedback, make sure you're dealing with somebody reputable, and there you go. You should be fine. Honestly, I mean, I've had very few bad experiences with eBay. I know there's a lot of horror stories out there, but I've been using eBay pretty much since it started, and you know, you think it's bad now. Wow, it was horrible back then. I mean, there was just no regulation, no safety policies, nothing. It was awful. So nowadays, it's I think it's a lot, you know, less frequent that you get, you know, you get screwed over on eBay. So of course, the main thing to consider if you're going to be purchasing the set out in the UK or Europe is, or anywhere else, or Australia, for example, anywhere else in the world, is that you will need a region-free player of some kind that can also decode NTSC to PAL for your TV, because it is NTSC video, and of course you folks will be using PAL. So, yeah. But I think multi-region players are actually a little more common out your way than they are out our way. I know also you guys have had for a long time actually TVs that can display both, whereas we don't here. TVs and VCRs, like they have a lot of multi-format VCRs out in Europe and such, and those never really caught on out here, which is unfortunate, because I know there was a lot of PAL VHS stuff back in the day that I would have loved to get, such as the old Real Ghostbusters volumes. That would have been great. Oh yeah, one thing, I had a few comments about when I mentioned JMS, Joe Michael Straczynski, and some people were asking, is that the same JMS of Babylon 5 fame? And the answer is yes, it's the same guy. I guess not everybody knows this, but his big start in television was actually doing cartoons back in the 80s. He was a story editor for He-Man, for Jason the Wheeled Warriors, and then in 1986, The Real Ghostbusters, and he wrote a lot of the most fondly remembered episodes from that series. Funny enough, for me personally, the first time I actually became aware of him and started noticing his name on things was with The Real Ghostbusters, because I had an issue of Starlog magazine from 1986. I think it was, there was a lot of stuff I got out of that one issue, actually. It had Howard the Duck on the cover, because the movie was in theaters that summer. And then they were talking about some of the cartoons coming out in the fall. So they had two big articles that caught my eye. There was one about the real Ghostbusters, which was basically a huge interview with Joe Michael Straczynski about about the direction they were taking with the show and how they were trying to push the envelope as far as what was, what the censors would allow and what the, standards and practices would allow as being acceptable on a kids show. So they really wanted to have the ghosts and the creatures in it as scary as possible, as scary as the censors would allow, basically. And truth be told, I mean, they got away with a lot of stuff on that show, and it definitely pushed the envelope as far as how scary can you make a kids show, and we largely have Mr. Straczynski for that. The other article that caught my eye was an article about the Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers, which I've talked about at great length before, and that was the first time I'd ever heard of Galaxy Rangers, and it was a big article with the creator of that, whose name escapes me at the moment. But anyway, I thought that sounded great, and it wasn't until, of course, many years later that I got to see it. But anyway, so for me, it's funny, because for everybody else, Joe Michael Straczynski is that Babylon 5 guy. For me, he's always been that real Ghostbusters guy. And of course, between the two, in 1987, he was the head story editor and one of the main writers for Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future, which, cheesy though it may be in some people's eyes, is one of my all-time favorite science fiction shows, and one of the many one-season wonders of the past. But that's another story for another time. Anyway, that's basically it in a very large nutshell, and that concludes my in-depth review of the Real Ghostbusters complete collection on DVD, available now from Time Life. Oh, some other questions I had was, is this a limited edition? No. As far as I know, it is not. If going by the track record of of Time Life's other sets, this is not a limited edition. It will be available indefinitely, basically as long as there's demand for it. But I suspect that it will only be available online exclusively for a limited time, and then it should be made available in stores. Because this has happened with basically everything that Time Life has put out on DVD. Two big notable ones would be the Get Smart Complete series and the Man from U.N.C.L.E. Complete series, both of which started off as online exclusives and are now finally available in stores. So I suspect the same thing will happen with Real Ghostbusters. You've started to see the individual volumes appearing in stores. I think the first one hits in June. So I suspect when they get about maybe halfway through the individual volumes, they'll release the complete collection to stores as well. So if you want to wait. If you want to get them now, get them online. So there you go. So that's it. We're done. I promise this time. Next time, I got a brand new review series, one of many that I've been meaning to do for a long time, and I think it's long overdue, and about time I got down to it. So we're going to talk about that next time. Until then, thanks for watching, and sayonara. Perfectly centered. But it occurred to me when I was sort of reading through the comments and such on the blah. That was kind of a little bit effeminate, wasn't it?
I was reading through the comments, and they were just super. There were just some lovely comments there. You guys are so nice.